All right, folks, Hurricane Ian is clobbering Florida's west coast now. Could there be problems for the Carolinas? Joining me again is James Jarvis with the American Red Cross Cape Fear chapter. James, thanks for jumping on.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, we should tell folks we are talking on Wednesday, September 28th. It's 4:30 p.m. So things here, obviously, there's nothing bothering us here yet, but things could change. Tell us what you're seeing for the folks here in the Carolinas.
Sure. So big thing we're doing right now, just really monitoring the storm. Obviously, the western coast of Florida is taking a beating right now. The imagery that we're seeing in terms of the storm surge and the damage there in Fort Myers and all along the western coast are really going to be catastrophic. And so I think for us, the big thing that we're looking at is one, making sure that we can meet our obligations to shelter and provide mass care here in the Carolinas, depending on what Hurricane Ian does. So the forecast track now has it potentially popping back out into the Atlantic, potentially coming in around Columbia, South Carolina, or thereabouts. But that's always subject to change. So a big part of what we're doing right now is making sure that we are tracking the storm's progress, having our assets pre-staged. That includes shelters and cots and blankets and those types of things. So that way we can very quickly put them into play if they become needed.
Okay, so how about folks at home? What suggestions would you give them if they're going to be staying in their house? Because it looks like I guess we're going to start getting stuff really Friday morning. Probably would be the earliest as far as the Carolinas are going. So, what would you tell people to be doing right now? Hopefully, they've been doing it anyway. But what do you think they should be doing now?
You know, for the most part, from what we're seeing from this storm, we're expecting probably in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 inches of rain, which can cause a dangerous flash flooding type event. So you want to be careful driving over roadways that are covered with water. The phrase, and it can save your life, turn around, don't drown. So, it's certainly something that people should keep in mind. But for the most part, this should really be a wake-up call for you to take a look at your own individual and family preparedness. Make sure that you have the things you would need for your own personal emergency preparedness kit. That includes bottled water. That includes non-perishable food. That includes making sure that you have 30-day supply of your medications, those types of things. I don't anticipate that we're going to have heavy impacts here in the Carolinas from this storm, but the storm gets a vote as well. And so it could very well pop out into the Atlantic over that warmer water and strengthen, and then, do some different things. So you want to build that emergency preparedness kit. You want to make a plan for where you would go if you did have to evacuate. Make sure that plan includes your pets. So you should have their shot records, their immunization records in case they need to go into a shelter. And then finally, you need to stay informed. Now is the time to make sure how your county's emergency management posts information. So that way, if you do have to evacuate, when it's safe to return. So again, right now, it looks mostly like we're going to have a rain event with some strong winds, but that could change. So I would encourage folks, the hurricane season is not over. It runs through the end of November. There's still other systems out there in the Atlantic that could potentially pose a threat to us. So take the steps now to prepare your family so that way you can ride out whatever comes our way.
All right. Great information as always. So how do they get this information besides listening to you with me? What website should they go to?
Sure. So just go to redcross.org/prepare. That'll give you all of the information on how to prepare your family for storms like this. And if you would like to support our life-saving efforts that are happening right now in Florida and will be happening in the coming days and weeks, please go to redcross.org/donate. Those families that are going to lose their homes in the next few hours are going to need our support. And so we would certainly appreciate you considering helping us do that.
Okay, so since I wanted to really talk about the people in the Carolinas, let me just, before we sign off here, how bad do you think it's going to be in places from Fort Myers to Tampa. I mean, I've got friends down there, and I got to tell you, I'm frightened.
It's going to be really bad because the storm surge, this was a category 3 storm for a number of days. And then it was only 2 miles per hour short of a category 5. And so you think about how that is churning up that water. And then that storm surge sits on top of the regular water line. And so there are hundreds, if not thousands of homes that we're seeing right now that have the water line up to the roof, up to the first floor. And so homes don't do well in that. And so that's not just somebody's home, that's all of their possessions, that's their memories, that's their scrapbooks, their photo albums, all those things. And so we're not a government agency. The only way that we are able to help people is through the donations of people that are generous and come through. And I will say that when Hurricane Florence hit us a number of years ago, 60% of all the donations we received came from outside the state of North Carolina. So if you remember what it was like to be on the receiving end of that, just think of our friends and neighbors down in Florida and how much they're going to need our help.
Certainly, prayers and good wishes are there, but give the website again so people can donate.
Yes, sir. So you would go to redcross.org/donate and then select disaster relief. You can also mail a check to your local Red Cross and just indicate in the memo line Hurricane Ian or Hurricanes 2022, and we'll make sure that those folks get the support that they need.
All right. He is James Jarvis with the American Red Cross Cape Fear chapter. James, as always, you're a superstar. Great to have you on.
Thank you very much, John. Appreciate it. You have a great day.
You too.